Welcome to the RuleBook. I'm your host, Alex Palmer, and I'm the queen of learning things the hard way so you don't have to. On this podcast, we're talking about the mistakes I made and the lessons I learned along the way to create the rules I now live by. On each episode, we're going to be discussing a new rule, how it came about, why I created it, and how you can apply it in your own life. So let's get into it. Welcome to episode number 10. It's a man's world, but not anymore. Oh snap, did you guys know that most podcasts actually die by episode 7? So I'm feeling pretty proud to have gotten to episode 10. And since we are now in the double digits of the podcast, I wanted to talk about something extra juicy this week. This week's episode, we're going to talk about the things I learned from men. Anytime I mention the word men on TikTok or Instagram, I feel like I end up inviting a lot of hate onto my pages. And this is the reason I steer clear of this topic. But I think the podcast might be a little bit different, so here goes nothing. I cannot do an episode about men without talking about the lack of men in my early life. I grew up with a single mother and a little sister, so men were constantly in the background of our lives. They didn't have starring roles because they would basically come and go. My dad was not in my life. My stepdad was also not in my life, and I found out later on that my dad had actually passed away when I was 5 years old. When I grew up, I ended up dating a lot of different types of guys. Cool guys, nerdy guys, regular guys, funny guys, fide-eye guys, older guys, pothead guys, you name it, I probably dated him. And it's really funny because I grew up with so little exposure to men. I mean, I even went to an all-girls Catholic school. But later in life, there was just no shortage of them. I even went to a tarot card reader once who told me that he couldn't properly read my cards because there were so many men in them. Now, a lot of the guys I dated knew me, but some of them really didn't. A lot of them knew that I had hopes of one day becoming a famous actress, and I'm pretty sure all of them laughed at that. One once told me that if I had such big dreams, I probably shouldn't be dating him, and that I should avoid men in general if I really wanted to reach my goals. And this just reminds me of this particular saying that we're all spoon-fed. Behind every great man is a woman. But if women stand behind men, who's standing behind great women? According to the guy I was dating, the answer was no one. But that's really not 100% true, is it? So, rule number 10. If you don't want to stand behind a man, you've got to be a queen. So when I was racking my brain to come up with an example of a man who stood behind a woman in history, the only one that came up for me was Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth. It's really funny that one of the most traditional institutions in our modern world is one in which a man literally stood behind his wife for his entire life. Not to say he didn't have a shit ton of perks. He did. But his role was supporting. Did you know that Prince Philip actually had to kneel to Queen Elizabeth's feet at her coronation when she became queen? Yeah. I'm sure that was pretty controversial within their marriage. Today, more women than men go to law school. More women than men graduate college. But not as many women are in leadership positions as men. Why? Now that Charles is going to be king, did you know that Camilla is not going to have to take a knee at his coronation and bow before him as his queen consort? That's pretty interesting, right? That's no longer a requirement. So maybe the world is changing just super, super slowly. But here's what I think. Women can be great too. It's just going to look a little bit different for us because we really can't automatically assume that a man is going to stand behind us like men can assume their wife will. This started out as an episode about what I learned from men. So, here's a few things that stand out. The older guy I dated once advised me that I should probably get married before the age of 27 before, I became expired goods. Because obviously my options would dwindle the older that I got as a female. Yeah. When I was competing in a beauty pageant, one of the recruiters told me that I should probably bike 20 miles a day until the competition so that I could hope to win the title and be queen. How ironic. My boyfriend of almost a decade told me that he wanted to leave Manhattan and that I would have to follow him to the suburbs. Now this one is extra cruel. Another guy I was casually seeing had told me once that when his friends asked about my acting career, he was so embarrassed because he had nothing to say to them, i.e. he couldn't brag about me because I wasn't booking anything. And let's not forget the dozens of trolls who have told me over and over how ugly and fat and old I am, and that I should just take what I can get. Now, I just want to take a moment to thank all of those guys for their sound advice and wonderful words of wisdom. But here's the thing. They were never telling me how to be a queen. They were giving me their rules for how to be the perfect subject, how to follow a man, how to stand behind them. These guys were only ever casting background roles because they were the leads. I get it. That's what society has taught them. That's what society has taught us too as women, that we are not in the spotlight. That's not our role. I went to loads of client dinners with Fi-Dye Guy. I fit that role for him. I was entertaining and charming and the perfect accessory to go with his designer suit. But if I needed someone to run lines with me, do you think he was there? No. He didn't support me because he didn't feel like he had to or he should or he was expected to, because I'm a woman and he's a man. And his needs and his dreams come first. When I told another guy about my acting goals, he told me, oh, well, you should really only give this a year and then you should quit. So for him, me following my dreams was a waste of time and had an expiration date. But it's okay if he does it because that's his birthright. So this is where I disagree with a lot of the men I've met and a lot of the lessons they've tried to teach me. I think that the new phrase should be, beside every great woman is a great man, and vice versa. Because on this podcast, we make our own rules. It's a man's world, but it doesn't have to be. So thank you guys for checking out episode number 10 of the RuleBook. I really hope that you enjoyed this one. I hope that you will come back. New episodes every single Monday on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Please follow me at Serious Actress across all social media channels. Bye, guys.